So, I've recently been playing Star Ocean 3 and I've been wondering just how bad is the European conversion of it? I was searching a lot of info on the internet and I couldn't find a conclusive answer, so I decided to make one for myself and share it with the rest of you so you don't have to scour through a bunch of 15-year-old forums. Now, we're going to analyze this sort of sequentially. I will also post most of this video right at the end of this, so you can watch it a lot easier by yourself without me rambling. We're going to just sort of go through the first 15 minutes of the game and examine how things are different across the different versions. Now, the first things first. The elephant in the room is that the European version has enforced letterboxing. This is a trait of many unoptimized or partially optimized conversions released around the time, where the resolution was left unchanged from the American version, and then when it gets displayed on the European standard, it just sort of gets squished and it adds those borders up top and bottom because European resolution was just as wide as the American, but also taller. That's why there is a mismatch. There is also another difference between the American and the European version when it comes to the FMV, and that is the enforced motion blur present in the European version. That was likely done in order to compensate for the lower frame rate while still keeping all of the detail in the video. In my honest opinion, this was just about the worst thing they could have done because I think the FMVs would could have looked a lot better with a few missing frames. Rather than the whole image being a smear of what it is supposed to be. I have matched them to show the exact same moment, and yeah, like if you look at this, you can see how smeary the European side is. You can also notice that there wasn't anything done to the FMVs themselves in order to make them appear in the correct aspect ratio. They didn't crop them, they didn't add more view on the sides. They are just the same but squished and motion blurred on the European version. Now, for the rest of this comparison, I have set both versions of the game to the widescreen mode because, well, it's going to just make it easier to look at the European version. It's also a really good way to sort of fix the enforced letterboxing by just making the game appear in widescreen. I have made the American version appear with widescreen as well, and I stretched the image so they didn't look wrong. I have also set the I have also enabled the event skip on both versions, and I also set the comparison to automatic subtitle and voice advancement for the in-engine cutscenes. So we can see how they play sort of, so I could match them up easier, and also so we could see how they play when compared side by side. Now, the initial impressions are actually not so bad because it seems that it plays pretty much exactly the same. The European version is a little bit behind, but sort of the longer we go into the cutscene, you will notice that there is going to be a lot more mismatch. Like, see? Whereas previously it was literally a couple of frames of difference, here it's like almost half a second. And it gets worse and worse the longer the scene goes. But yeah, interestingly enough, if you were to actually compare the length of each scene and say adjust one or the other one to match the opposite. So here I, for example, took the European one, and I sped it up so it matched with the American one, it's only faster by less than 1%. And in case you're not familiar with bad European conversions, a bad European conversion is 17% slower on average. So this isn't exactly it. Like, if it were a bad European conversion or nothing were done to it, it would be much, much worse than what we're getting here. So that's good news. Now, what's interesting is if I were to actually I'm going to remove this real quick. If I were to take another cutscene, these ones were also matched, so they would play at the they would start playing from the exact same moment. I'm just going to speed this one up, and let's look at how much longer this one is. This one is, on the other hand, 2.5%. Now, that's disconcerting because if it were actually exactly the same thing as, if it were actually just like a matter of they sped it up incrementally, it should be the exact same thing as the previous cutscene. There is an explanation for it, and I will get to it in just a moment. Now, the interesting part is that I have then later compared how the walking animations compare, or they're just like how in general, how fast the game runs in both versions. And I am happy to say, as you can see, that both versions run pretty much exactly the same. Like, you get to the end of the corridor at the exact same moment. And I have run this test a few times actually. And the results were always the same. Fate was always getting to the end of the corridor at the exact same moment in both versions. Now, another thing that I checked is the battle sequences, which this may or may not be a fluke, but it seems that the American ones loaded faster than the European ones. Who knows? And when it comes to the speed in battles, I am also happy to report that it is exactly the same across both versions. As you can see, Fate makes the corners at the exact same moment in both versions. There may be a little bit of a mismatch due to just, human error. I was trying to replicate it as accurately as I could. But yes, the speed in battles and the speed in the overworld is the same. Now then, why are the cutscenes different? Oh, and one other thing, for which I am actually going to mute myself and enable the sound so you can hear it. When it comes to the menus, they are, interestingly enough, not optimized correctly. But I'll just let you see it, or rather hear it for yourself. Hold on for a second.
What I've got. Give up.
So yeah, as you could hear, the American version, what we see here, it was going like a receptionist, like a typist from like 1940s, just like a machine. It's just like going like a machine gun. That's what I wanted. That's what I wanted to say. Whereas the European version was going slightly slower. You could definitely hear it. That it wasn't beeping as quickly as the American one was, and this is actually because the animation for the cursor is the same thing actually with the camp menu, as I will demonstrate right here. Yeah, you can see that the American on the other side is going to get ahead of the European one very quickly, and it's just going to keep getting worse for the European side. Yes, so the cursor animation is actually left unoptimized. It seems that pretty much every 2D animation was left completely unchanged in the European version. So it basically takes the exact same amount of frames to happen as it did in the American or Japanese release. And that is also the explanation why the in-engine cutscenes actually go out of sync. Because if you are to actually analyze these scenes sort of frame by frame as they happen, like pay attention to the hat in the background as it appears in both sides, they are actually they're actually perfectly synced on both sides. They both appear at the exact same moment. And I have tested it with a bunch of hacked up cutscenes. I basically started them off from the moment a text box appears to the moment that another text box appears. And that is actually the answer for why these are desynced. Because the text boxes are also 2D animations, and they have the exact same amount of frames across the two versions of the game. In case of this text box, it was 12 frames. So 12 frames on the American version is going to be a lot quicker than 12 frames on the European version. So yeah. In conclusion, FMV cutscenes play the same speed, smeared to living hell, and also presented in incorrect aspect ratio. I should mention that sadly, because this game is very old, the widescreen mode does not actually affect FMVs. Those are just left exactly the same way, regardless of how you set it. That was the same way in the American version as well. If you set your game to widescreen, all of the FMVs would be stretched. So yeah, FMV is definitely a minus on the European side. Cutscenes, somewhat of a minus because they play a little bit longer than they should, but when you're actually playing the game, you don't really notice that. I mean, the cutscenes just have slug space anyway. A few more seconds on each one just isn't going to make that much of a difference. Gameplay, exactly the same across the two versions. Menus, a little bit more sluggish on the European side, but again, like you will probably notice, but only if you have played both. The cursor still moves fast, and if you prefer to just press the button, you will barely ever notice any difference in how it operates. So yeah, there you go. Now you know that the European version of Star Ocean 3 Till the End of Time isn't actually as god awful as everybody says it is. So yeah, thanks for watching, and you can now see you'll now be able to see the comparison that I have put up, just so you can see this video in 50 frames. Bye.
down at the beach.
I was waiting, but you never came. You said you'd play a few games and then head right over.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't plan on staying so long, but I got kind of sucked in.
All right. Well, that's what I thought happened. Didn't you say you had tons of homework to do to Haida anyway?
But I was fighting so well today. And I leveled up a lot too, you know?
Yeah. How nice for you.
Someone's in a bad mood today.
What do you expect? You'd rather play games than hang out at the beach with me.
Sophia? You aren't mad, are you?
I'm not mad.
Do you want to go to the beach?
I swam enough. While somebody I know was having the time of his life playing games all by himself.
So, do you want to take a walk through the hotel? I bet it'll be fun. What do you say? Come on. Pretty please.
Well, if you want to hang out with me, guess it's all right.
Great. Let's go. Time's a wasted.
Okay.
Boy, she sure is taking forever. Bet she's making me wait on purpose.
Hi, Faith.
Took you long enough. What were you doing all that time?
Just changing. I didn't take that long, did I? Besides, you kept me waiting. How long was it? Serves you right.
Right.
Shall we?
Okay. Just don't yank my arm off.
What? Who are you? This is the Rossetti's friend room. Oh, I know. You want my autograph, don't you? Oh, well, I've got to keep it fancy. Usually I'd be mad if someone just barging in like that. You're so cute. I'll make an exception this time.
You said the Rossettis?
What? You didn't know our troop's name? Don't go forgetting it now. Say, what's your name?
Faith. But
I'm Sophia. Right. To my darling Faith, from the Fairy of Illusion, it's Hito Rossetti. All done. What the?
hey, you can't just draw on somebody's shirt.
What? But you wanted my autograph. Nobody said anything about wanting an autograph. Huh? I mean, mama's autograph. Or you want my mama's autograph. Or can't want to marry the clown's autograph. Can't want to marry the strong man's autograph. Or versus the strong man, right?
No.
Right?
We're not really looking for anyone's autograph. We're not really looking for anyone's autograph.
Well, what then? Are you a salesman? Well, what then? Are you a salesman? You look like the kind of guy who's never done an honest day's work in his life. You're here to collect on a loan. You're here to collect on a loan. That loan's good until next month. They promise. That loan's good until next month. They promise.
Who are the Rossettis anyway? And what's with this fairy of illusion stuff? Anyway? And what's with this fairy of illusion stuff?
Okay. So, you two are just lost?
Well, we're not really lost. Well,
Oh no!
we're not really
You're
lost.
robbers!
No, not that
no.
either.
You're robbers! Then what are you?
No,
Not one
not
of
that
the
either.
fans. You're not here to collect on our loan. You're not lost. Fans. What do you think you're not here to collect on our loan? You're not lost. So what do you think
I'm
you're
sorry
doing
for barging into your
our
room.
room like this?
We were just taking a little walk, checking out the place. I'm sorry for
Isn't that
barging
right,
into your
Sophia?
room. We were just taking a little walk, checking out the place.
A walk?
Isn't that right, Sophia? Yeah, a walk.
Barging into people's rooms isn't called taking
Yeah,
a
a
walk.
walk.
That's for burglars. Barging into people's rooms isn't called taking a walk. That's for burglars.
Okay,
or
then,
lost
we're
kids,
lost.
or stalkers, or groupies.
Okay, then, we're lost. Good idea.
So you were lost. That explains it.
Good idea.
I thought you were my So you were lost. That explains it. Oh, well, I thought you were not like I performed yet. So, did some. Oh, well, it's not like I performed
You're a
yet.
performer?
So, it did seem a little strange. That's right.
You're a performer?
We're the Rossetti Troupe, and we bring you a fleeting vision of the future. I'm your fairy guide. We're the Rossetti Troupe, and we bring you a fleeting vision of the future. Well, I'm the fairy guide playing Karen, a Rossetti circus troupe, and I am sort of the host.
Oh,
Well, if you
so
wanna
this
hear
shirt
me
with your
play
signature's
Karen,
gonna be worth
we're
something.
A circus troupe, and I am sort of the host. It's the first autograph I ever
So
signed.
this shirt with your signature's gonna be worth something.
Tomorrow's my debut. It's the first autograph I ever signed. You could buy a
The
whole
first.
planet with that shirt. Tomorrow's my debut. In 6 months,
Oh yeah?
you could buy
Amazing.
a whole
An
planet with
entire
that shirt.
planet. I guess I'll have to take good care of it. Oh yeah?
Hey.
Amazing.
You don't
An
believe
entire
me.
planet. I guess I'll have to take good care of it.